Om Sadashiva-Samarambham Shankara-Ashankara-Bhashya-Vimarshah Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryankaravavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalaspatikakritim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmahe. Om Shri Hayagriva Namaha. Om Shri Vallabha Sameta Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha. So we are entering into a new topic now. ahankArasya, ajAna-Ashrayatvam, samvidah, ajAna-vishayatvam cha. So this particular issue or a question is always there, correct? Whether Brahman is ajAna-vishaya only or both ajAna-vishaya and ajAna-ashraya. There are different views with reference to this. But I think the Bhashya is clear in the Brihadaranyaka Bhashya. The Aham Brahmasmi Bhashya is there. In that only the question is raised. How can Brahman itself have ajnanam? Because there, the Brahman, as though being an ajnani, gains this knowledge and then has this sarvatma bhava. That is what is said there, correct? In the Upanishad itself, it comes like that. So then Bhashyakara says that ajnana can be there only in a conscious entity, and this conscious entity means there is only Brahman. There is no other conscious entity. So we have to say that Brahman itself is as though an ajnani, and then it becomes an as though jnani. Right? Even jnani, ajnani, both are only as though. Nanirodho, nachotpattihi, like that in the Karika also it is very clearly said. Na baddho, na sadhakaha, na mumukshur, na vahi muktaha. Ityesha paramarthata. So we have to keep that in mind. This is all only in Vyavahara. Anyway, but here also there are differing opinions are there. In fact, here, even though the title is saying ahankArasya ajAna-Ashrayatvam, our author is presenting all kinds of views here. Okay, you can take whichever makes sense to you in this context. Okay. So here the question is what? Nanu ahankarena kartra jnanena karanena apaneyam ajnanam samvidhi nasti eva. So what is the Purvapakshi stating here? Ahankarena kartra jnanena karanena apaneyam ajnanam. So this ajnana has to be removed. By whom? By the ahankara, who is the karta. And what is the instrument or means for that? Jnana. Okay. Of course, this is the vritti jnanam we have to take. So this ahankara is the karta, jnanam is the karana, ajnana is gone because of that. Okay. That being the case, samvidhi nasti eva ajnanam. So ajnanam cannot be there in the samvid, in the chaitanyam or in the swarupa jnanam. There cannot be any ajnanam. Further, the Purvapakshi is explaining that he is saying, Yasya jnana-ashrayatvam tasya eva ajnana-ashrayatvam api. Okay, so what is the point here? Wherever jnana-ashraya is there, jnana can be supported. There only ajnana also can be there, correct? Whatever is the locus of jnanam will be the locus of ajnana also. Why? Because he is giving a niyama here. Jnana ajnanayoho samana ashraya vishayatva niyama. So the jnana and ajnana, for both of them, the vishaya and ashraya should be the same. That is the niyama he is saying. Okay. Because whenever we talk about knowledge of what? Okay. Like that, there is a Vishaya is there, Jnana Vishaya. And ajAna-Ashraya also is there, locus. Similarly, ajnanam also, whenever we talk about ajnanam of what? Because ignorance also has to have a pratyogi in general. Only in Sushupti we have a samanya ajnana, okay? But otherwise, ajnana also has to have a Vishaya. And where is this ajnana? Locus also we have to talk about. And so, having given this niyama, is saying what? Nahi jnana-ashrayatva rahitasya ghata dehe ajnana-ashrayatvam asti samvicha jnanameva na jnana-ashrayamiti tava abhyubhagame iti. Okay. So what he is saying is, since he has now given a niyama that jnana and ajnana, for them Vishaya and Ashraya should be samana. So whatever is the jnana Vishaya has to be the ajnana Vishaya. Whatever is the jnana Ashraya should be the ajnana Ashraya also. Like this the niyama is giving. Okay. So if you have ignorance of an object, you will have knowledge of that object. Similarly, wherever the ignorance is, if the ignorance is there in the ajnani, means that ajnani is ahankara. If you take, if ignorance is there in the ahankara, then jnanam also has to be there in the ahankara. So that samanatvam has to be there with reference to Vishaya and Ashraya for jnana and ajnana. And what he is saying is, since he is giving an example like pot, etc. Ghatatehe, Ghatadi are not sentient, correct? They cannot have jnana-ashrayatvam. Therefore, you cannot say pot is having ignorance also, correct? Pot doesn't have either ignorance or knowledge because it is jada. Okay, so he is saying Ghatadehe, jnana-ashrayatvam is not there. Jnana-ashrayatva rahitasya Ghatadehe, ajnana-ashrayatvam nasti, nahi, na we have to add here, nasti. Similarly, samvidah also is not a jnana ashraya, is saying. Why? Because we are saying samvidah is jnanam itself, correct? Samvidah is jnana swarupa. It is not jnana ashraya for us, unlike Vishishtadvaitins. Therefore, samvid being jnanam itself and it is not a jnana ashraya, therefore it cannot also be ajnana ashraya. This is the Purva Paksha. That means samvid cannot have any ajnana. This is one of the main objections of the Vishishtadvaitins and many Dvaitins also. Another reason they give is that samvid being Swaprakasha, how can it have any ajnanam? It is like darkness and light coexisting, etc. They give an argument like that. So, he is saying you have accepted that samvid is not jnana ashraya, therefore it cannot be ajnana ashraya also. Okay, having said this, what we are saying, ma evam, it's not like that. Why? Mastu samvidaha jnana ashrayatvam iva ajnana ashrayatvam api. So, okay, provisionally what we say, okay, let the samvid not have ajana-ashrayatva. Like it is not a jnana-ashraya, it is not ajnana-ashraya also, it's okay. But still what? Tathapi jnana-vishayatvam iva ajnana-vishayatvam api asti. So what we are saying is, first we are saying is that what? This Brahman or consciousness or samvit is jnana-vishaya. Okay, that's why we have Brahma Jignasa. Therefore, it also has to be ajnana-vishaya. Whatever is ajnana-vishaya only can also be jnana-vishaya. And he is explaining that. What is he saying? Na mama atma sakshatkaraha iti avidushaha. So the ajnanis say that I don't have atma sakshatkara, I don't know this atma directly, I don't have this jnanam. Similarly, what? Vidushaha. The jnanis claim what? Asti mama atma sakshatkaraha. I have atma sakshatkara. The one who knows, he can claim that. There is nothing wrong. Some people have a problem with this. I don't know why. If you cannot claim your own jnanam, then what is the point of this pursuit, in fact? So you cannot deny the swanubhava of a jnani as a jnani. Okay. Of course, Jnani knows that Brahman is not a Jnani. Okay? And Jnani also knows Aham Brahmasmi. And even while I am claiming my Jnana, I am not a Jnani. These things are all there all over in Gita very clearly. Correct? Pashyan, Shrinvan, Spishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Shwasan, Pralapan, Visrijan, Grinhan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Napi, Indriyani, Indriyartheshu, Vartantaiti, Dharayan, Brahmanyadaya, Karmani. Like that you can see there. Okay. Navadware Pure Dehi, Naiva Kurvanna Karayan. So I am not a doer, enjoyer, etc. The Jnani knows that. Bhagavan himself says that Saturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartaram Api Mam Vidya Akartaram Avyayam. Kartaram Api Akartaram. That is the whole idea, correct? Karmanya Akarmaya Pashyet Akarmanicha Karmayaha Sabuddhiman. All these things are there. So there is no problem here. Those who understand Satyam Mithya properly, for them there is no problem in claiming the Jnanam also. Otherwise, there is no question of having Jivan Mukti also. And Guru Shishya Parampara, where the Guru is a Jnani. Otherwise, you have to have absurd theories like Jnani is the projection of Ajnani and all that. So no Ajnani can consciously project a Jnani. Understand that. Or even unconsciously. So this is all not proper prakriya. So the Jnani has to claim Jnana. Then only the Jnani can also teach. If it's your Jnana, only you can teach others. If you don't have the vision yourself, what will be the teaching then? The teaching will be not effective first. Okay, and it will not be accurate also. It will not be proper. So, asti mama sakshatkaraha iti vidushaha cha anubhava. So, vidusha anubhava is there. That means the same thing is the jnana-vishaya. Same thing is the ajana-vishaya. Therefore, ajana-vishayatvam samvidah has. We have to accept. So he says, imecha jnana ajnane kartaram ahankaram eva ashritya vartate. Also, this jnana and ajnana, if the ashraya is what means, okay, we can say because the ahankara is the karta, ahankara is the knower, if you say, then it is now the locus of this jnana and ajnana is ahankara. Vishaya is samvid. This view is okay. Okay, in fact, even in the Siddhanta, we can say this. We don't have any, in fact, the Bhamati Prakriya is entirely like this because Bhamati says Jiva is the ajana-ashraya. Bhamati Prakriya, they don't accept Brahman as the ajana-ashraya. The Vivarana is the one which says that Vishaya and Ashraya are Brahman only. Okay. So that also he will come to that now. So, or he is making a samanvaya between the two also in one way. We'll see that. So here first we is saying what ahankaram eva ashritya vartate. Okay, both jnana and ajnana. Then what tasya hi jnana ashrayatvat ajnana ashrayatvam api upapadyate. Okay, so for the ahankara only, both jnana ashrayatvam and ajnana ashrayatvam both are there. Okay, then what evam ahankara ashraya jnana vishayatvad atmanah yata viditatvam sambhavati तथा तदा आश्रय अज्ञान विषयत्वात् tasya aviditatvam api sambhavati. Okay. So what we are saying is in this manner, ahankara being the ashraya for jnana and also the vishaya, if you see vishayatvat, ashraya vishayatvat, ahankara is the jnana vishaya and jnana ashraya both are there. So this atma ajnana, atmanaha if you see, has this ahankara as the jnana ashraya and vishaya. And similarly, what he is saying, tata tada ashraya ajnana vishayatva tasya avidititvam api sambhavati. So this Atma becomes knowable or known, correct? Viditatvam means that Atmanaha Viditatvam is because this ahankara is the Ashraya and also it is the Atma is the Jnana Vishaya. So ajAna-Vishayatvam, ahankArasya is there. Therefore, it becomes knowable. Similarly, this tada Ashraya ajAna-Vishayatva. So it is ahankara Ashraya ajnana is there. And again, Atma Vishaya ajnana also is there. So basically, he's saying Jnanam and Ajnanam are, we are only talking about similarly here. Okay, this initially he gave the niyama, correct? Samana Ashraya Vishayatva niyama is there. We accept that. Okay, it is sambhavati, it is possible. So, idameva ajnana vishayatvam atmanaha ajnana avritatvam iti uchyate. So, this atma being the vishaya of ajnana only is said as it is covered by ajnana, because this covering is an important thing. Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Like this avarana is talked about very clearly. And even in the Upanishad also avarana is talked about. Mrityuna eva idam avritam asit. There Mrityu is taken as this nama rupatmaka ajnana only, or ajnanatmaka nama rupa only. Is the Mrityu there? So the avarana is an important thing. Only because it is covered, it is not known. The ajnana itself is there because of the covering, or ajnana itself is the covering. That's how we look at it. Ajnanena avritam. And then what? Tatacha ahankArasya atma vishayakam ajnanam atmavarakam bhavati eva iti na samvidah asti ajana-Ashrayatvam iti. Okay. So this being the case, what? Tathacha ahankArasya atma vishayakam ajnanam. So even though the ajnana is there with the ahankara as the locus, it can still cover the atma, we are saying. That is because the atma is looked upon from the standpoint of the ahankara only, correct? Like the sun is covered by the moon, let us say, or the shadow of the moon. Really speaking, the shadow of the moon cannot cover the sun or anything, but it is only a standpoint, correct? From the earth, that is still possible. So, like that, even though the ahankara is the ashraya for ajnana, it can still cover the atma, because atma is the ajnana vishaya, correct? Whatever is the ajnana vishaya, it is covered by that ajnana itself. That is what we are saying. This is one explanation he has given now fully. Okay, where we are saying atma is ajnana vishaya, but ahankara is the ajnana ashraya. That paksha is explained. Now he is going to the other one. He is saying yadva. Okay. Otherwise, what? Chaitanya ashritam yeva ajnanam. So this is the vivarana. So ajnanam is Chaitanya ashrita only. Why? Because even the Sureshwara also talks about this in the Naishkarmya Siddhi. In fact, Sureshwaracharya explicitly says that the Mula Jnanam is the Karana of the Ahankara itself. Okay, how can the Karya be the Ashraya of its Karana? Karana only can be the Ashraya of Karya. You cannot say clay is there in pot. Pot is there in clay is the right way of putting it, correct? So, Ajnana has to have Chaitanya alone as Ashraya. Why? Because Anadi Ajnanasya Sakarya Ahankara Ashritatva Yoga. This is what he is saying. The Mula Jnanam, which is Anadi, how can it be there in the Ahankara, which is a Karya of that Ajnana itself? and that is Sadi. So Sakarya Ahankara Ashritvatva Ayoga. It is not proper, it's not tenable to say that Ahankara is the Ashraya of Mula Jnanam, which is Anadi. Therefore, what Ahankara Ashritatva Pakshepi. Okay. Having said this, if you still don't like Brahman being the Ajnana Ashraya, another option is that this is the Samanvaya, we can say. Is what we are saying is, which is I think a nice Samanvaya is doing. He's saying Ajnana Ashritatva Pakshepi. So even if you want to say this Ahankara is the Ajnana Ashraya, Ahankara Vachinna Chaitanya Ashritatvam Eva Vachyam Chaitanyasya Anaditvat. So there, if you want to still maintain it that Jiva is the Ajnana Ashraya, we can say that. Nothing wrong. Because there also the Chaitanya, which is Avachinna, the Avachinna Chaitanya alone is actually the Ashraya we have to take there, correct? So Ahankara Avachinna Chaitanya Ashritatvam is there for the Ajnana. And Chaitanya being Anadi, then there is no problem. You can still say that the Anadi Ajnana is Ashrita in the Ahankara Avachinna Chaitanya, which is fine. Okay. Tadeva Ajnanam Chaitanya Vishayam Cha. So the same Ajnana is both Ashraya and Vishaya is Chaitanya only for us. This is the Vivrana position. And there is no problem in this because there is no real Ajnanam anyway. So I don't know why so much discussion and all is there. Ajnana, if it is really there, then we can talk about all these things. Ajnana itself is Mithya. So what is the big deal? So, Nacha Ghatadihi Ajnana-Vishayaha iti Vachyam Ghatadi Avachinna Chaitanyasya eva Ajnana-Vishayatva. Okay. So, here, this the Purva Bhakshi is coming and saying Ghatadihi Ajnana-Vishayaha. You cannot say. Okay, because Ghata cannot have Jnanam and then Ghata cannot have Ajnana Vishaya also, it cannot be. Okay. Because here you are saying the same thing is the Ashraya and Vishaya, correct? They are opposing that. The same thing cannot be the Ashraya and Vishaya. Of course, they are arguing for Ajnanam and Jnanam having same Ashraya and Vishaya. Their Samanatvam is fine. But Ashraya and Vishaya cannot be the same thing. Okay. So the Gata, if you say Gata Vishaya Jnanam, the Ajnanam also cannot be there as Ashraya in the Gata itself. Ajnana has to be Ashraya somewhere else. Then Gata can be a Ajnana Vishaya. So, how can you say this? Ghatadihi Ajnana Vishayaha means Ghatadi can be only Ajnana Vishaya. It cannot be Ajnana Ashraya. That is their argument. Means you cannot say that we are saying. Why? Because Ghatadi Avachinna Chaitanyasya eva Ajnana Vishayatva. Even there what we are saying, if you say Ghatadi Ajnana Vishayatvam is there, there also the Ghatadi Avachinna Chaitanya is there. So that way also if you see, Chaitanya is the Ajnana Vishaya even there. Okay, because the Ghatadi the Antakarana Avachinna Chaitanya is the Ajnana Ashraya. Similarly, Ghatadi Avachinna Chaitanya is the Ajnana Vishaya also. That's what we are saying. So therefore, your niyama and all, we don't accept that. We cannot accept that Vishaya and Ashraya should be different. It cannot be same. That is not there anyway, in fact. So, what we are saying is, Nahi Purva Siddhasya Tamasaha Paschima Ashrayaha Vishayaha Va Bhavitumarhati. So, this is what even Sureshwara Acharya is saying. So, whatever this Ajnana is already there, Purva Siddha, then later on only the Ahankara or the antakarana itself comes, which is karya. So whatever is already there has an ashraya on something which is coming later. How can you say that? So na bhavitum arhati, that is not possible. Therefore what? Evam ajnanasya samana ashraya vishayatvam siddham. So ajnana can have the same ashraya and vishaya. You cannot object to that, saying that ghata can be only a ajnana-vishaya, but not, and they are not ajnana-ashraya, obviously, because they are, you can claim that they are actually jada. But what we are saying is, even the ghata itself is not ajnana-vishaya. We are saying ghata avachinna chaitanya is the ajnana-vishaya. Therefore, the avachinna chaitanyam only is both the vishaya and ashraya for ajnanam. So samana ashrayatvam can be there, and further what? Jnanam tu vritti rupam kartra ahankArasya na samvidah asti jnana ashrayatvam. But what we are saying is, jnana is basically vritti jnanam only we are talking about as jnanam, and that is again, that is only there in the kartra ahankArashrayam. It has its locus as the ahankara, which is the karta, which is the pramata, and it is not in samvid, na samvidah asti jnana ashrayatvam. So this is the Siddhanta. Like, in fact, even Bellangonda, I think, is going along with this only. The second Yadva only is going along with. But he has done a Samanvaya also. So basically, I think he is following Vivarana. Okay, after you say this, then all kinds of Purva is coming. What is that? Na katham ahankara ashrita jnanena samvida ashrita ajnana nivrittihi. So, question is what? How can the jnana which is taking place in ahankara get rid of the ajnana which is there in the samvit? Okay, there are two different. It is as though saying Devadatta gets jnanam, Yajnadatta's ajnana is gone. Okay, correct. So how can you say that? So that's what he's saying. Nahi chaitra jnanena maitra ajnana nivrittihi iti. So okay, I said Devadatta Yajnadatta is Purva Pakshi is saying Chaitra and Maitra. So when Chaitra gets jnana, Maitra's ajnana cannot go away. So if you raise an objection like this, what? Iti chet uchyate, if you say like this is what is given as the explanation. What is that? Anadi ajnanasya chaitanya ashritatvepi sadi ajnananam ahankara ashritatvad adoshaha iti. What we are saying is, the anadi ajnana, mula ajnana has to be chaitanya ashrita. Okay. But then other ajnanas are all sadi, we have to say, because the ajnana itself is being having the sadi vishaya. Ajnana also is considered to be sadi. Even this again can be debated. Okay. But anyway, so here he is saying the tula jnanam are all sadi. The mula jnanam alone is anadi. So sadi ajnananam ahankara ashritatva, they are all having the ahankara as the ashrita. So the ahankara ashrita jnana only is also destroyed by the jnanam. Jnanam also is taking place in the ahankara. So it is not a dosha, he is saying. But still, the mula jnanam, how do we account for? Okay, mula jnanam anadi avastha ajnanani tu sadini. Okay, so further he is explaining mula jnanam is anadi, but then avastha ajnanas are there. They are sadi because you basically, the idea is that you come to know that you don't have this jnanam. Okay, something like that we have to say. This ajnana is there. So they are all sadi. Tatha cha chaitanya ashritam chaitanya vishayam cha mula jnanam ekameva. So in this manner, if you see, all the tula jnanas, they have ahankara as the ashraya, and jnanam also takes place in ahankara. Therefore, both are having same ashraya, jnana and ajnana. Therefore, one destroys the other. Okay, that is fine. But for Mula Jnanam alone, that being Anadi, there is a difference is there. Okay, we have to account for that. So that's what he is further explaining. Tathacha Chaitanya Ashritam, Chaitanya Vishayam cha Mula Jnanam Ekameva. So Mula Jnana alone is like that. Okay. Further what? Gatadi Avachinna Chaitanya Ashritani, Tad Vishayani cha Jnanani Nana. Okay, here that's why the Avachinna Chaitanya aspect is very important for us. So the Vedanti, when we even talk about Pratyaksha Jnanam, what we are saying is the Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanya and the Pramatra Avachinna Chaitanya, which is the ahankArasya Avachinna Chaitanya, are aligned by the Vritti Avachinna Chaitanya being taking place. Correct? The Vritti takes the form of the Vishaya, then all three are aligned. So there is a ahankArasya Vritti Avachinna Chaitanya, which is the Pramana. So all of them are actually Avachinna Chaitanya only for us. That's how we explained that. So that being the case, anyway, everything is in Chaitanya only. So there is no problem in saying that ajnana destroys jnanam. Okay, that is what he is going to get to. So that's why he is saying, even though you say the stula jnanam is many, and it has the vishaya as the whatever, the ajnana vishaya is some object, but even there, the gatadi avachinna chaitanya ashritani only. This ajnana vishaya also is really gatadi avachinna chaitanya, not just ghata. So similarly, imani ahankara ashritani cha bhavanti. So that the ahankara is the ashraya for ajnana, and then the vishaya is again chaitanya only. Gatadi avachinna chaitanya. Here also, in the ahankara also there is chaitanya. And anyway, these two becomes the jnana when it takes place. What? It becomes the virodhi. It is ajnana virodhi, we say. That is the pramana vritti. Avachinna chaitanya is the virodhi. So etad virodhini dhini ghata jnanadi vritti jnanani cha ahankara ashritani eva. So what we are saying is this, basically the vritti jnana which is taking place and which is the virodhi of this ajnana is also having ahankara as the ashraya. So this is the tula jnana he is still explaining. Further, what he is saying is akhandatma akaram cha vritti jnanam ahankara ashritameva. So finally, what we are saying, even with reference to the mula jnanam, if you take whatever is the virodhi of the mula jnanam is the akhandakara vritti jnanam, we are saying, because this advaita jnanam is manovritti matram. There is no doubt in that. Bhashyakara clearly says that in the Chandogya Bhashya beginning, and even in everywhere else, manasa eva idam aptavyam, manasa eva anudrashtavyam, all these things are there. Upanishads are also very clear. It is basically a manovritti. The Advaita Jnanam also is only Vritti Jnanam, because Vritti Jnanam alone is opposed to Ajnanam. For us, the Swarupa Jnana is not opposed to Ajnanam. Therefore, the Akhandakara Vritti, so Akhandatmaka or Akhandatma Akara Vritti, which is again we call it as this Jnanam, is ahankArashritam. So therefore what we say, evam sati gatadi avachinna chaitanya ashritam, gatadi avachinna chaitanya vishayam ajnanam ahankArashritam cha, gatadi vishaya avachinna chaitanya vishaya ajnanam dvividhamapi idam ahankarashrita gatadi avachinna chaitanya vishayaka jnanat nivartate iti na kachid anubhapattihi iti. So what he is finally pointing out is, see, in this, once we accept that the akhandakara vritti also has the ahankara as the ashraya, And Gatadi, whatever vritti jnanam also has ahankara as the ashraya, and it destroys the Gatadi vritti jnanam, destroys Gata Vishaya ajnana, but that is also Gata avachinna chaitanya ashrita Vishaya ajnana. That is where the Gata avachinna chaitanya, once you put there. So in both here also, whatever is the chaitanya Vishaya ajnana only is also destroyed by the akandatma akara vritti. So in both cases, that's what he is arguing. See, Gatadi avachinna chaitanya ashritam, Gatadi avachinna chaitanya vishayam, ajnanam, ahankara ashritam cha Gatadi vishaya avachinna chaitanya vishayam, ajnanam, dvividham api. So when this jnana takes place, the vritti jnanam, it is destroying the ajnana of the Vishaya and Vishaya avachinna chaitanya also. In fact, he is taking two, both of them. Okay. So when the vritti jnana of any object takes place, even though you say the ajnana is with reference to that object, but it also destroys the ajnana of the avachinna chaitanyam also. Because the object avachinna chaitanya ajnana also is gone, he is saying. And here also, this basically the Atma itself is chaitanyam only. So whatever jnana vritti which is taking place in the ahankara, it can still destroy the chaitanya vishaya ajnana. There is no problem here, because even in normal tula jnanam case also, that ajnana is basically having both the vishaya and vishaya avachinna chaitanya as objects. Like that he is pointing out. Okay. So here iti na kachid anubhapattihi iti. Okay. Otherwise what? So one explanation he has given. Okay. Further what? Athava sadi ajnananam ahankara-ashritatvam evastu yata janya jnananam anadi ajnanam tu chaitanya ashritam tadeva chaitanya vishayam cha idam cha ajnanam ahankara ashritam api bhavati ahankara avachinne chaitanye tat satvat. Okay, the other option he is giving is what? It is more like, this is more in keeping with Vivarana. See, for all the Sadi Ajnana, Ahankara is the Ashraya, and also the Janya Jnanam also, the Vritti Jnanam also is there only in the Ahankara. But for Anadi Ajnana, Chaitanyam itself is the Ashraya and Chaitanyam itself is the Vishaya. But even if you say that, even though the Vritti Jnanam is taking place in Ahankara, but there also the Chaitanyam is there. Without the Chaitanya Pratipalana, there cannot be any Vritti Jnanam also. Correct? So he is saying even in the Paksha, where we say that Chaitanyam itself is the Ashraya and Vishaya, there also the Chaitanyam is still available, because the Ahankara Avachinna Chaitanya only we have to say. Correct? So even the whatever the Chaitanya in general you say is the Ashraya, it is still available in as Ahankara Avachinna Chaitanya when the Vritti Jnanam takes place in the Ahankara. That's what he is pointing out. So idam cha ajnanam ahankara ashritam api bhavati ahankara avachinne chaitanye tat satvat. So therefore what? Evam cha ahankara ashritaihi tad vishayaihi vritti jnanaihi ahankara ashritani tad vishayani avastha ajnanani nashyante. So whichever way you look at it, finally what we are saying is in this manner what? The ahankara ashritaihi tad vishayaihi vritti jnanaihi. So the ahankara ashrita and then vishaya is there, and then there is a vritti jnana, that is also ahankara ashrita only. and whatever tad vishayani avastha ajnanani nashyante. So the ajnanas with reference to a particular vishaya, that is destroyed in the ahankara, because a jnani also is only a particular ahankara based only, correct? Just because you become a jnani, everybody also will not become jnani. This is also another question which is raised. Okay. If avidya is real, then that will be true, I think. But avidya itself is not real, it is unreal. So one person becoming a jnani, it doesn't make any difference to others. Of course, as a guru, still you can teach and make others also jnani. That's a different thing. Automatically, it doesn't make everybody jnani. Okay. So, finally, what we are saying, the ajnana is, even though you say it is Chaitanya Ashraya, but when the jnana takes place in the ahankara, that ahankara avachina Chaitanya is there. Therefore, the ajnana which is there in the Chaitanya can be destroyed by that. That is what we are saying. So there is no problem here. So Chaitanya Ashritam Swashritam Cha Chaitanya Vishayam Ajnanam Chaitanya Akara Vritti Jnanena ahankArashritena Nashyate iti Vedyam. So finally what he is saying? Chaitanya Ashritam Swashritam Cha Chaitanya Vishayam Ajnanam. The Ajnana is Chaitanya Ashraya. But Ajnana is also Swa-Ashraya because there is a ahankara, avachinna Chaitanya is there in the ahankara. And the Chaitanya Vishaya Jnanam takes place in the ahankara, and that will destroy the Chaitanya Ashrita Ajnana because again of the avachinna Chaitanya being there in the ahankara. So it is destroyed. This is how you have to understand. Okay, that is why even the jnani is a person. Okay, once we say this, what finally we have explained like this. Then he is saying, Nanu surye tamasaha iva katam chin matre bhaved ajnanasya stitihi iti chet. Okay, this is a standard objection, correct? How can Chaitanya, which is jnana swarupa, have any ajnanam? Okay, it is like saying the sun is having darkness. It is not possible. How can this ajnana sthiti, ajnana can have its existence in chinmatra jnanam or atma? So what is the answer? It is not like what you say, surya tamasoho iva chid ajnanayoho virodha bhava. So the chit and ajnana do not have any virodha. Okay, like between the tamas and prakasha. So chita hi ajnanam bhasyate sushuktau hi ajnanam anubhavati purushaha. So also the samanya ajnanam in sushupti is there. It is not opposed to the Chaitanya, and it is experienced by that Chaitanya, because we say in Sushupti, Ajnana is Sakshi Bhasya, and that's what you are again, Pratyabhijna is there of that. Okay, I did not know anything and all that. So, this we are saying, but once we say this also, the Purupakshi is not accepting. He is saying, Nacha Katham Jnana Jnanayoho Avirodha iti Vachyam. So, how can there be Avirodha between Jnana and Ajnana? Means what we are saying is what Vrittik Jnana Ajnanayoho eva virodaha natu Chaitanya Ajnanayoho iti. So there, even though the Ajnana, the Nanj is not really Abhavartha, it is Virodhi Artha only. Everybody is very clear. Even Sureshwara in the Vartika says that Ajnana has to be taken as Amitra. Correct? Amitra means Amitra is not Mitra Abhava. Amitra is basically an enemy. Okay? So it is Mitra Virodhi. So like that, but who is the Virodha or Virodhi means the Vritti Jnanam is the Virodhi of Ajnanam, not the Swarupa Jnana. In fact, Swarupa Jnana is the one which lights up both Ajnana and Jnana. Okay, the Vritti Jnana and the Ajnana are both are lighted up only by the Swarupa Jnanam. It is not a Virodhi for anything. That is why, in fact, we also talk about Avirodha Yoga and all that. In the Mandukya Karika also, the Swarupa Jnana is Avirodhi for everything. It is not a Virodhi of anything, in fact. So it is unconnected with anything. How can it be a Virodhi then? So, this is the answer. Okay, even then what? Nacha ajnana karya antakarana parinama rupa vitti jnanasyapi katam ajnana virodhitvam iti vachyam. Okay, this is the other question. Okay, we said that antakarana is the karya of mula jnanam. Therefore, it cannot be an ashraya and all. One argument we put, correct? So now he is asking, this antakarana parinama only is vritti jnana also. Even the akhandakara vritti you are talking about, I said Bhashyakara also is very clearly saying it is manovritti matram. If it is manovritti matram, manas itself is ajnana karya. Okay. How can whatever is which is produced in the manas destroy its own karana, which is mula jnanam? And how can it be a virodhi for that? Katam ajnana virodhitvam? You cannot ask why. this is the this is one of the analogies given by the Siddhantis. Interesting. So what they are saying is sanghatita darudvaya janyasyapi vanhehe tad virodhitva darshana. So this is the, so you have seen this arani mathanam and all, correct? In traditional yajna, so we put two wooden pieces and then we rotate one wooden like a cylinder under a base, and then we produce agni. So that agni is coming from the contact of the two wooden pieces, but that itself can devour the wood itself, correct? It is a virodhi, even though it has come from the contact of two wooden pieces, that same agni can devour the wood itself. Like that, this is possible, is the answer given. Okay. So, yadva na chaitanyam ajnana virodhi napi vrittihi ajnana virodhini vritter jadatvena ajnana avirodhitva kintu vritti pratibalata palita chaitanyam ajnana virodhi. Okay, another explanation also is given here. Otherwise, we say what? Yadva na chaitanyam ajnana virodhi. Chaitanya is not ajnana virodhi by itself. Okay. And also vritti by itself also cannot be a virodhi because it is simply jada. So napi vritti hi ajnana virodhini. So vritti also is not ajnana virodhini because it is jada. Vrittehe jadatvena. But then what? Vritti pratipalita chaitanyam ajnana virodhi. But the chaitanya which is manifesting in the vritti alone is the virodhi. Like that we can say. This is another explanation. Once we say this also what? Nacha vrittehe virodhitvam praguktam iti vachyam. Okay. But you said vritti is the virodhi before means what? There also what we really meant is what? Sabhasa vrittehe ajadatvam abhipretya uktam iti. So there also we say that the sabhasa vritti only is called vritti jnanam, correct? Vritti itself by itself is jada, we accept that. When we say vritti jnanam, that jnanam word is aupacharikam, but basically it is the jnana abhasa is there, we say. Okay, so sabhasa vritti only is the ajada, and that keeping that in mind only we said he is saying. But even that they will not accept. What he will say, Nanu bimba chaitanyam eva yad ajnanam nashayitum na ishte tad ajnanam katam pratibimba chaitanyam nashayediti che. Okay, the next question is, if main chaitanya, the bimba itself is not able to destroy this ajnanam, okay, or it doesn't want to destroy the ajnana, it is avirodhi and all you say, then how can the pratibimba chaitanya do that? This is a question. Okay. Here also we have an answer. Why? The answer is what? Trinadi Rashim Swayam Dagdhum Ashaktopi Suryaha Darpana Visheshe Pratipalitaha San Dahati Eva iti. So even here also we give an analogy that the dried grass cannot be burnt just by sunlight, but if it is concentrated through a mirror, correct, the reflected light can burn the grass. Therefore, what? Tasmad vritti jnanameva ajnana virodhi iti kritva atma swarupa jnanasya ajnana ashritatvam yujyate eva. So vritti jnanam alone is ajnana virodhi. Therefore, atma swarupa jnana can be ajnana ashraya. There is no problem in that. Okay, the rest of the things we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.